Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. There are many YouTube channels out there with really talented modelers. One of them is Boylei Hobby Time. He uses these LED filaments and creates amazing effects of laser bolts, fire, and explosions, creating some of the most interesting and dynamic dioramas. And of course, I had to try it. I'll leave the link to his channel down below. Be sure to check his channel out and subscribe. He does some amazing stuff. So this is a model I got from my good friend Steve, and it's the perfect guinea pig to try out these effects. The model was fun to build, all parts fit together perfectly, and no cement was needed. I decided to paint the interior even though it'll be completely covered up. After all, a model isn't complete until it's fully painted. So I disassembled the top part and started painting. Just a few grays and greens, sprayed with an airbrush, a dark panel wash, and details painted with a brush. Here are some shots of the finished interior. To paint the exterior, I use the same techniques when I paint armor models. I primed everything with black, painted over it with a very light gray, concentrating in the center of all the panels. Then I sprayed a thin coat of medium gray over everything to blend it all together. After spraying a satin clear coat, I proceeded with an enamel wash, then wiped most of it off, leaving it only in corners and crevices. Finally, I did some chipping and added some rust effects. And this is the result. For the base, I used some hardwood hobby board for the sides. Then I cut to the desired length and cut the top from some 1/8 inch melamine panel. I glued everything with CA glue. Once it was dry, I created the ground foundation from Sculptamold and used the dark earth paste from AK Diorama series to create the actual ground. And before it dried, I sprinkled on different kinds of materials to add more texture using sand, talus, kitchen spices, and dried seagrass. And to make the base somewhat presentable, I painted the sides satin black using some Home Depot thick paint for furniture. Next step was the vegetation. The moon of Endor had a lot of what seemed to be fern plants. I created them using a coffee filter, damped it in water, and soaked it in different colors of green inks. After it's dried, I cut thin strips folded in two, then cut the individual leaves in random lengths. And then cut small strips along the whole length of each leaf. For the laser bolt, I used a 28mm red filament. I soldered a small metal rod to the negative end and a magnet wire to the rod. I then drilled a hole in one of the laser gun barrels and another hole on its side and inserted the rod, passing the magnet wire through the hole on the side. Then I soldered another magnet wire to the positive end of the filament and passed it underneath the said filament and back towards the model, passing both wires, positive and negative, through the model, trying to hide it as best as I could and downwards towards the base. I then fixed the AT-ST to the base. For the explosion, I used two 5mm filaments in warm white, and I added a second 28mm red filament to represent another laser bolt fired first from the other gun barrel. I finished up the explosion with cotton balls and painted it with yellow, orange and black. I also added some fiber optic filaments to simulate flying debris. After that was done, I installed a switch, battery holder and wired everything under the base. As a final step, I added some moss by applying slightly diluted white glue in the desired locations and sprinkling some fine turf from Woodland Scenics. After the glue dried, I applied some green paint on the turf to add some more vibrant color. And to have a nicer transition between the moss and ground, I applied some light slimy grime. And finally, I airbrushed an even lighter shade of green on the moss to lighten it up a bit further. And I called it done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.